We are on top of the hill here at Mpigi in central Uganda, Mpigi district. This place was a bush 10 years ago. Today, it's home to the Social Innovation Academy, SINA in short. And as we celebrate these 10 years, we are having a conversation with the founder, Etienne Salborn, to tell us what is the history of SINA, why SINA, and what are the landmarks or the legacy of SINA within these 10 years. Welcome. Ambrose Chibuka Muchivi is my name. I'm a passionate educationist and also very passionate about youth empowerment. Etienne, can you talk to us more about yourself, your country of origin, and how it is that of all countries in the world, you find yourself here at the very top of this hill in Mpigi?
Yeah, thank you, Ambrose. So my name is Etienne Salborn, originally from Germany, and in 2006 I volunteered in Mpigi district in an orphanage called Kankobe
Orphanage, okay, yeah.
And I stayed there for 1 year and realized that the children living there, after finishing primary school, could not continue going to secondary school. So that was the first start to create an educational sponsorship program to allow the kids after P7 in Uganda to be able to continue with high school and be sponsored from families in Europe to go to different boarding schools and continue their education. So I kept coming back once in a while to Uganda over the years. And in 2013, we had the first generation of the kids that had grown up, finished high school, had good grades,
great,
but then couldn't find jobs. Couldn't go to university because the tuition fees are high. And we're drowning in a general high unemployment rate of young people in Uganda. So the goal wasn't met that young people would be able to sustain themselves after finishing school. And that was the starting point in 2014 to acquire land on this hill and create SINA, the Social Innovation Academy, as a collective effort with the young people out of school to create a model that allows young people to unleash their potentials and in the end become the change they want to see, create jobs, create opportunities, create businesses, employ others, employ themselves, but also solving challenges in the environment and in the society.
What we are picking from Etienne's introduction is that he came, he saw, he was tickled, stimulated, because he discovered the problem that these kids in the orphanage, their education was not guaranteed. And so he went back to Germany and mobilized friends and started supporting these children through school up to completion of secondary school. But then soon he realized that the solution he had created had actually now at an advanced level created another problem. What do you do with the kids that you have educated up to the completion of the secondary school cycle, and now it is time for advancement either into the world of work or in higher education? We are going to delve deeper into the conversation. What solution did Etienne and team create, and what results do we have to show 10 years down the road? So Etienne, why is the confusion stage so important in your model, and what would an education without that confusion model miss out?
Yeah, that's been one of our biggest learnings over the first few years, to really start with the individual. Who am I? Why am I here? If I can't really answer that, and that goes for why am I here right now in, for example, the university classroom or in wherever I am, if I don't know really why I'm there, there's already kind of a disalignment. And if I can answer who am I, and I'm sure what I'm doing is aligning to my own purpose, and I take action aligned to my purpose, I'm going to potentially do things differently and That's the part that is really powerful, because everything else builds on that foundation almost. If I do things because I'm told to do them, but I don't know why, it is not going to end up to take me to the direction I want to be in. But many people have never asked themselves that question to find out who they are, their purpose, and then be able to align to it. So that's really key.
So how long does that take, the confusion stage? How long does it take?
It can be between 2 to 3 months, where we can see to have a deep transformation happening. But again, ideally that would happen already at a very young age, to encourage young people to understand who they want to be and what their purpose might be, and then it wouldn't need the confusion stage or unlearning, but people could
because you find yourself in a context where people have not been taken through that, then it's important to begin there.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. And it takes about 3 months.
Yes, and then, also the personal development that comes with it, to be able to become self-reflective, to be able to present yourself, a lot of soft skills as well that come with it, that are important, that no matter what you're going to do are going to help you. If you're able to be asking the right questions, if you're able to present yourself, if you're able to take initiative, be self-driven, all those soft skills that traditional educational approaches don't really focus on.
So what we have experienced definitely is that critical stage in someone's life, in order for them to be able to make sense of themselves and of their environment, it's missed. It's a gap in the formal education. Great. So it's good that Cena is able to fix that gap, and we want to learn now the next step after the confusion stage.
Yeah, the second stage, we call it emerging stage.
Emerging stage.
That's where the free responsibility comes really in, because people take up roles and responsibilities, grow on their skills and ability hands-on by actually running the community in a self-organized way. And that allows them to gain the skills and experiences they need to later be able to create their own social enterprise.
Wow. How long does that take?
The interesting part is that doesn't really have a very defined time frame. And it is really on an individual needs basis. For someone, it can be 3, 4, 5, 6 months, but for others it can be years. But that's fine, because the person in that time frame is also taking up roles and responsibilities, almost as like staff. So it's able to contribute to the community, keep the community running. But also, as long as the person continues to grow in skills and abilities, it's a win-win. The person grows, learns hands-on the skills needed, and as well the community is able to continue running on the SINA framework, and everyone wins.
It's a win-win indeed. So then after the emerging stage, what is the next one? Yeah,
within the emerging stage, that's also where new ideas come up. Because typically we all get our best ideas not when we want to have a great idea.
No.
But ideas come to us, especially when we do work. We do this, and we realize, oh, can I not combine those two and create something else? Or I've seen there's a problem here, or there's a problem in the community, and maybe an idea comes to me how I can solve that. So at that point, our scholars formalize those ideas, form teams around it if possible, and then really understand the problem behind it, and then come up with possible solutions without being too attached to one specific idea, because the idea will change. Reality will hit and inform how the idea has to change to be able to make sense as a social enterprise.
You know, you are saying something so vital here. You said ideas come to us, and you went ahead to explain that they come to us in the process of us being in the doing.
Exactly.
That as these young people are engaged in, doing stuff, ideas come to them. And for me, what I'm picking is that learning, the best learning happens in the environment of doing. So, and you don't have lectures here.
Sometimes there's a blend of everything, whatever is needed. So sometimes it can be a lecture if that is really what's needed, but most of the time it's not.
It's not.
Most of the time is hands-on experiences, learning by doing, getting your hands dirty sometimes to really work on the ground.
that kind of juxtaposed against the formal system, where it is generally a theory in the classroom and less, or perhaps sometimes no doing, it's almost a guarantee then that ideas will not come to the learners.
And I have one great example of one of our social enterprises
Yes.
that can really illustrate this well.
Yes, of course.
There's something like a push and a pull.
Mm.
I can push you to learn about financial accounting as much as I want, and I can maybe design an exam, and then you'll study for that, and maybe you'll pass it.
Yes.
But you probably have not really fully understood it because you don't need it right now, potentially.
Right.
You're not having your own
Right.
business. So we had, for example, a team that was starting their own enterprise, and they had trainings about financials in the beginning, but then, of course, like most, if you don't really need it at that point, forgot about it. And now we could push people to learn, this is how you do accounting, and you pass or you fail, but that's not what we do. We rather bring in the pull element. Now, when they start to have their own enterprise, starting to make money, they're starting to see that we made sales, but at the end of the month, we don't know where the money went, and we're not able to sustain, something is not wrong. So,
Right, yeah.
something's not right.
That's right, yes.
So at that point, they basically came back to Cena and said, can you help us establish a financial accounting system, and we need to learn about it, we need to understand it. And then it worked easy because
Yeah,
they
exactly.
wanted it, they needed it, they
Yes.
saw how it is valuable. Whereby most of the formal education, we all learn something at the time where we don't see its value. And then, of course, we're not motivated so much to study it.
Yeah, no. And even our understanding of it and its application is very limited. Well, that's a great example, actually. And in many ways, I look at what Cena is presenting as a model that the rest of the system really ought to learn from. So what's the next stage then?
Yeah, so when ideas come up, they're being tested. So can they find the market? Who are the customers that have that problem, that might be willing to buy the product, the service? How does the service and the customer have to adjust to find a fit, like a problem and solution fit? Who are the people? I need to really understand them deeply. What product or service do I really need to create and change that it can actually fit to the right people? And that process, most of the times, the scholars fail, that it doesn't work out. An idea doesn't really make sense yet. Either the team doesn't have the right skills yet, so they go back and take up more responsibilities, grow themselves, maybe find new team members. But most of the times also the solution is not yet right. It needs better understanding. Maybe the opportunity is not really there. Maybe we thought we can do this, solve this problem, and also generate revenue from it, but it just didn't work out. So at that point we have like a boot camp. Within 1 week it is tried out. And most of the times it doesn't work out, and that's no problem. Failure is a learning opportunity. It's not something bad, but it's actually encouraged.
Yes.
It's actually necessary to move to the next level. And people try again and again and again until something works out. And at that point, then we enter into what we call the concentration stage, where an idea that starts to seem to make sense, to find customers, to be able to solve a problem, is then able to, within another boot camp of 1 week, make some real revenue profits, and is able to take it to the next level, to maybe create their own working space, find more team members if needed, and really become like a formal enterprise. So then it is also registered. It can still take as much time as it needs to be financially self-sustainable. And so at the end, at that point, our scholars don't graduate with any certificate saying you've learned about entrepreneurship. No, they graduate when their own social enterprise is ready and able to financially self-sustain. Then it moves out, finds its own space, its own office, its own land, whatever it needs, and then basically gives room for others to come on board and start the same journey.
It's actually amazing. When recently I visited Geja by one of the alumni, Major, and I got staggered. I actually didn't I was blown away. What I saw was much, much bigger than what I was imagining in my mind. And I was like, how does someone go to a place like this and is not necessarily, given money, but the process they're taken through enables them to create something of that magnitude? And I'm sure even there are bigger ones, It's 10 years down the road again of Cena, and at the entrance there, we have that pole that has all these different locations where Cena currently is. Talk to us about the expansion. How did you pull it off that you now find Cena in different places? How did you do this?
Yeah, so it was actually in 2016 that the first generation said, can we not make Cena our social enterprise and replicate it, for example in that case, in a refugee camp where a group of 3 people had been living for over 5 years. So they saw that it had helped them so much to discover themselves, to see what has happened to them, not as something to be ashamed of.
So these were refugees, scholars, but they were refugees in Uganda,
yes,
who came here as scholars, and now they had graduated. They had
within the different stages.
Yes,
they said, can we not make Cena our social enterprise?
So as they were going through the cycle, they decided to actually make the replication of Cena in other spaces their social enterprise.
Exactly.
So that's what they worked on.
That's what they worked on. That's what we supported them with to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the model of Cena back into the refugee camp.
Which one is that?
In Naki
Valley.
And there we realized that the Cena framework can be replicated.
Mm-hmm.
But we also chose an approach that it is replicated through, like how nature is replicating itself.
Yeah.
We're sitting under a mango tree. The 3 people were basically the seeds that learned how to replicate the model, and then basically were planted into a new environment where of course it had to adapt. It had a different soil to grow in than what they found in the mother tree basically. So the model then was able to adapt to the local needs, again be locally owned, locally run, self-organized, for the refugee community, by the refugee community, for the young people, by the young people. And we saw that it can really work to give people space to become the change they want to see, to create the solutions they need for themselves. Stop waiting for someone to solve their problems, but be the ones that solve their own problems, or even for the community, or even on a bigger context for the society or for the environment. So at that point, we were opening up for other people that were interested to explore Cena and see if they want to take it back to their own communities. And that's where it started to become more and more that new communities emerged. And today we have already 12 communities that are existing, and not just in Uganda, but also in Tanzania and Congo, on Zanzibar, but also in Zimbabwe, and a new one currently in Cape Verde. So it has grown to 12 communities, and new ones are upcoming every year, and it's becoming almost like a movement that every community is self-organized, self-governed, self-run, local ownership, but collectively we still form like a community of communities, whereby best practices are coming up from all the communities to help us collectively evolve the framework to be able to see how it can really transform challenges into opportunities in all those different communities. And so there's a collective effort, there's a collective system, almost like a living system. No one is owning it, running it, fully even able to understand it, but collectively it works. So again, almost like nature.
It's an open source kind of arrangement. What we are witnessing here is that Cena, that began as a simple social initiative here at Mpigi Hill has now spread to 12 communities beyond Mpigi Hill, actually beyond Uganda. We've heard it's in Zimbabwe, it's in Tanzania, it's in Cape Verde, which other country?
Congo.
And Congo. Is that the DRC? DRC. So what we see here is a model that has great potential to actually be replicated in simple ways, and it could tremendously help to transform the way we empower our young people, particularly on the African continent. Could this be something that institutions of higher learning could pick interest in to explore? How do we replicate or customize or domesticate this Cena model in the way we educate the young ones by empowering them to live in the present and in the future optimally productive? But you did say that for those looking to replicate, they need to come to Cena and go through a process, right?
The current reality is that we have people coming to go through Cena, so they experience it firsthand, have that transformation themselves, and are then the ones going back to their communities to replicate it. But we're also working on having enough team members that have the skills and capacities that have already experienced it to go to new communities, to work together with the local community, to start from the beginning together, and that's what we're working on.
Fantastic, fantastic. So before we leave that point and going to the way forward, where the future of Cena, on average, if someone comes to Cena to go through that whole process, on average, from experience, how long has it taken people?
It depends on the nature of the person, and there's a flexibility, again, from the fastest maybe 9 months. Someone came, left with their own social enterprise. Some have stayed for years because they become really almost key team members and keep the place running and growing, and it is a win-win situation. But on average, it's maybe about 1.5 years.
1.5 years. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So what want you to give us a sneak peek into what you envisage to be the future of Cena. 10 years behind us, 10 years in front of us. What do you have in plan?
Yeah, already the last 10 years was beyond any expectations what it could have been. I think we have exceeded any thoughts and ideas, and I'm really curious what the next 10 years are going to bring. The trajectory it is on has become almost a little bit like an exponential growth. That we started with one community, and it was 2, then we had 2 or 3 more per year. Now the interest is growing, that we have currently the last 2 or 3 years, every year 3 to 4 new communities that have been in the making. And now with the approach of being able to go to different communities as well, it can happen simultaneously in many communities. And the need is definitely there for people to organize themselves, to be able to transform challenges into opportunities, to find meaning in difficult circumstances and create a future for themselves. And that applies in many African countries as well as in many other countries around the world. So if things continue to go well, we might have a first Cena community coming up even outside of Africa very soon. And then we don't know where this is going to go. And also each of the communities, once they reach a certain quality standard, again, like a tree, can produce its own fruits, its own seeds, and also from there replicate.
Yes.
So it is not one organization that is becoming very big, but it is a network of many purpose-aligned individuals, organizations that are all running on the same framework, collectively steering it to be the best version it can be, and collectively creating a change. So we are trying to scale the impact and not an organization.
Someone out there could have listened in and is wondering, oh, I want to join Cena. How do I go about that? We are going to put this question to Etienne. So Etienne, there's someone out there, it could be a young person, could be a parent, could be an educator, is watching this video and is excited about everything and would like to join SINA. How does someone join SINA?
Yeah, so as a young person, it's possible to join any of the 12 existing SINA communities and maybe the new ones coming up soon. Best is to just reach out to them locally. Typically, it doesn't need any formal requirements, but rather it is looking for individuals, almost like caterpillars, who are hungry to grow, might need to be able to speak the local language of that community, but otherwise there's no formal requirements in terms of paperwork or any kind of credentials, but we're looking for people that have a drive to grow and want to transform themselves and their communities. And it's also possible to come on board to see how we can bring SINA to a new community altogether. And therefore we have a whole replication journey designed, where we have people coming to Uganda to go through the main community and then be going through the model, but also equipped with everything needed to replicate it. Or we're working towards having a team of SINA scholars, community members from all the existing communities that can go even to a new location, together with the local community, get started in self-organization, run the first confusion stage, the first emerging stage, and out of the first participants, the first scholars, people will emerge to continue running in self-organization, while the team that came can pull out and the community can continue running and operating on the SINA framework. So those are all possibilities, as well as picking only parts of the model, which can be adjusted also to different contexts.
There is that possibility?
Yes.
Okay. So if, for example, a community realizes, or an institution, that perhaps they would like to start from the emerging stage, that's a possibility?
Yeah, we have been already working with some vocational schools, vocational centers, for example, to help them become more towards the side of creating jobs and opportunities. How can, for example, students that finish vocational education not just look for jobs, but also create their own jobs? So that can be, for example, plugged in a little bit more into vocational centers, as well as universities. We've also worked with the Red Cross to see how can, for example, their branches become more entrepreneurial or more innovative. So there's many opportunities like that.
So this is actually a model that can also work for civil society organizations, especially those that are geared towards empowering young people for productive living. Amazing, amazing. We are looking to the future with optimism that the last 10 years have been so fruitful, and now looking to the next 10 years, the coming 10 years. Etienne has already given us the impressions, and who knows, this seed at this hill in PG could easily become the home ground or the mother of a huge global movement, the Social Innovation Academy, impacting lives, impacting communities, and transforming nations. Who knows?